Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we are talking about a recommendation which actually came from two individuals, CJ and Jeb. Thank you very much for the recommendation, Call of the Night. Before that, we were talking about Blade and talking about some stars and movies and Christmas Story 2, which apparently came out before A Christmas Story, and a plethora of other things. You want to catch a part of that wider conversation, patreon.com/featured anime podcast, $1 a month will get you access to that bonus content and more. Now, on to the meat and potatoes. Call of the Night is 13 episodes long, and it aired pretty recently, July 2022, all the way through September. And the producers for it are Aniplex, Dentsu, Fuji Creative, just to name a couple. Studio for it is LINDENFILMS. It's based off of a manga. The genres for it are romance, supernatural, shonen, comedy, psychological, and I believe I said it was 13 episodes, but just in case I didn't, it is 13 episodes long.
Is it 13?
I don't know. Probably is. I'm gonna assume.
Oh, okay.
It is.
So I wasn't only supposed to watch up to episode 6. Okay, good to know. Good. To know.
Yes. Or maybe you watched the 22 2-minute episodes.
That's possible.
It is 100% possible. But
I did get through it pretty quick.
I mean, we'll only find out when we start actually talking about it, and then when you mention the time traveling granddaughter, we'll know the truth.
Yeah.
All right. So I was excited for this series. I was looking forward to it simply because it just seemed like it was a really kind of like mellow, laid back show. And for the most part, it was.
Well, let me say a few things first, because I tend to forget my initial reactions, but I wanted to stick with them this time, and I feel like my initial reaction turned out to be fairly accurate.
Okay.
So my initial reaction with the way that the art style was drawn and the way the characters were displayed, our main character ended up having a very bright-eyed expression, very small pupils, wide, big, bright white eyes, looking at everything in wonder.
Yeah.
Possibly a little excitement, and just overall, everything looked new and thrilling. Whereas our main protagonist, as far as vampires go, she had a very bored expression. And it was very rare she had any other emotion shown than greed or boredom.
Or perversion.
I mean, yeah, there's that too, but I'd say those are the main two that I noticed. And a lot of it has to do with the eyes. Because they're not dead, but they're unenthused. They're not happy. They're not. I don't know. They're missing some form of spark that you and I would recognize as joy.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Which is understandable. I mean, for the most part, that's how she was supposed to be. Like how she was, to quote CJ in our chat. There was no fire burning in them, like Sweet JP from Redline. But it also starts to get to, a point where she is starting to enjoy herself. So Nazuna,
because of him,
who's the main who's our main female protagonist, the vampire, is very much like, I'm really bored and this and that. And then she runs across Ko, who's our main male protagonist, who has this weird goal of becoming a vampire.
Only after he's seen her freedom.
Only because she wanted to show him that. Because and here's the thing, it's not just her that's like that. You do eventually run into other vampires that are exactly the same way, where they are like kind of like bored with everything. They just kind of do what they can to fill their time and make it entertaining. But one of the things that I really enjoyed about the series was the art. and the ambiance and
Yeah.
the music. Like normally I'll sit through like one opening, one ending, and I'll just kind of blow through the rest. Where and I know CJ had the exact same reaction as me. Just kind of like let it play through. And while it was playing through, I did something else while the intro and outro were playing.
Yeah.
Because I really enjoyed it, and the music that they had playing in the background at the same time for the series as a whole was just, it was really on point, or it was just really, it really fit. It really bumped, and I enjoyed it. There was not a point in time where the music did not fit and I did not enjoy the music.
I didn't really notice the music all that much, to be perfectly honest. I did notice the art style.
Yes.
And well, okay, so the only time I really noticed the music was the intro and the outro. And it was very upbeat, very counter to the actual episodes, where it gave you an idea that the show was more about display than anything else. But again, when the intro was done, everything kind of sort of fell into place,
Mm-hmm.
But it felt like there's a specific scene in the intro where it looks like you're just about done, and then all of a sudden the floor opens up and boom, the chorus hits again, and the loud music and then everything, and you're like, oh, okay, that was a nice little lull, but now it's not.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm a little sad or a little disappointed that the music for you, that you didn't really notice it, or that it wasn't paramount for you, because they specifically made the music a very big part of it. And
Really?
it was in almost every episode, and you could tell that it was in almost every episode all the way through, because there were times where it was lulled and kind of low, and then there were times where it was really upbeat to kind of help signify the characters' moods and to try and help you get in rhythm with the show. But I can understand, like, being that I know that your particular taste in music and things like that, whereas if it's not a particular style or of a particular beat, you tend to drown it out subconsciously or ignore it, which I understand. I get, but
I mean, I hyper focus typically on what I like and what I notice and what.
Right.
Sometimes I miss stuff. I'll give you that. Sometimes I miss some pretty big stuff.
Yep.
Time traveling grandchildren being one of them. But yeah, I was more focused on how the story developed personally.
It was a great story and how it developed. I'm not going to lie. And to kind of backtrack to what you were saying earlier about them being bored or her being bored and him just being so vibrant and alive. That's why he started venturing out at night.
I thought it was because he had insomnia.
She was talking about he has insomnia, but she even went on to say the people that are always or usually up at night are because they were not satisfied with their life during the day, with how they spent their day. And for him, that was actually 100% true.
I mean, over the course of the anime, how many kids did he get to convince to ditch middle school?
None.
They all still made it dead tired, spending all night out, stuff like that.
Usually, yeah. That's why Akira, she still went to school during the day, and same thing with the other friend, what was his name? Maharu, I want to say.
Could be. Very possibly. I'm not very good with names, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah. Mahiru.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you say that because I'm not good at it. One of the things that I found quite interesting with this show, and one of the things it revolved around a lot, was romance. And supposedly you can't turn someone if they're not romantically interested in you.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I found interesting, right? Like they took the normal, it's I bite you, you turn, to a different style, different view, where it's, in order for you to turn, you actually have to fall in love with me.
Made no sense.
It doesn't need to.
Made no sense, because then you'd have
doesn't need to.
Shit ton of vampires just living all over the place, because no matter what happens, I'm noticing that these vampires get bored of their playthings very quickly. And then instead of like discarding them and telling them to go live their own life or killing them off, I don't really know. You'd figure over the course of 10 years, you'd have about 8 or 9 people who were more interested than others. Do you think?
Well, they talk about it. Like for Nazuna, she doesn't have any offspring. She's never had any offspring. And it's been a hell of a lot longer than just 10 years for her too.
I get that, but
and as far as everyone else, yeah, but she's never had any because that's not something she's ever wanted. And the romancing portion of it, yeah, you can do things or make people fall in love with you, but who's to say that the reverse can't also be true? And they also talk about if you're not going to turn them, they typically just kill them. And I would assume
that was a scare tactic.
And I would assume that they are more than willing and capable to do it, simply because it's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to turn you. So I'm just going to kill you, which is I'm going to go out on a not so far limb and just go, that's probably very true, where they have killed him a fair amount. That's why you don't.
At least somebody has.
Yeah. So, I mean, you don't have to do it. Also, there was that restriction on the 1 year time frame where you have to fall in love from the time you're first bit. You have to fall in love within that year to get turned. Otherwise, you're just not going to be able to turn into a vampire. And so there are probably people where they've been strung along for over a year and are bitten after that point.
Yes. I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time, it doesn't.
It doesn't need.
Trying to wrap my head around the explanation.
I mean, so are you looking for logic in a fantasy anime that deals with fantasy creatures that don't really exist, where they fly and go around and have fun and everything like that? Is that what we're doing? Are we looking for that?
It's kind of my point. Like if you have, let's say she finds any vampire finds you as a middle schooler, right?
Okay.
Do you want to be a middle schooler for the rest of your life?
Do you plan on going to middle school for the rest of your life?
No, but you lock so many doors at such a young age that it sticks with them for decades and decades and decades, assuming they can't age.
Okay, so you're going with like, oh, he's totally too young and he's just going to stay 14 forever and he will never age or grow in maturity or intelligence because he's 14.
I'm just saying physically.
So there are people that don't really age even without getting bit with a vampire. Like there are people that are like that, where they look like they're 12 or 13 and they're in their 30s and 40s. So it's not that far of a stretch, and it would not be that unusual. So that argument I feel is kind of weak.
Well, I never said it was strong, but yeah. So the way that I kind of see it is, I don't really. How many people do you think you can turn as a vampire before it becomes too many? Because we saw one of them had 3, and
they weren't vampires.
No, but they were turned. They were offspring. I think that's what they called them.
Those 3, no, they weren't turned. They were just really into the individual. I thought. They did not give the vibe or feeling that they were a vampire because of how they were acting.
But they had the teeth for the vampires.
Did they? Or are you talking about the others? The not the 3 that were living with the guy, but
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
So you're not talking about the guy and 2 girls, or the 2 guys and a girl, or whatever it was, living that we saw at the end, that were living in the one apartment, or staying in the one apartment, where they came busting around the corner, pissed off that the one person brought Ko over.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
I mean, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
they were not vampires. They honestly, they weren't vampires. They were just people that were.
What were they?
Really,
they had the teeth for it.
They didn't have. I don't remember them having the teeth for it. I don't remember seeing that. I remember them being out of their rockers, but that's because they were manipulated,
brainwashed. Yeah.
Yeah. So CJ
says
Caesar says that they were not vampires. They were mind-controlled humans, but no teeth.
Well, la-ti-da. I thought they were. I thought they had teeth. At least one snaggle tooth, like all the others have, except when they're about to bite, and all of a sudden they've got two perfect fangs.
No.
Well, I mean that's just one aspect.
Yeah.
And by the way, were you shocked at all by that vampire's gender reveal?
Not really.
Wow. So basically,
I was expecting it. I was expecting one of them to be like that. I honestly was.
I wasn't. It was out of left field. When I saw it, basically this character comes out of the shower topless, and I was looking. I was like, what rating is this again? And then my wife, who was sitting next to me, goes, "It's a dude." I'm like, "There's no way."
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the dude, he had kind of a dude name,
but not completely.
Atsuka was kind of. I mean,
in your book, yeah, but in mine, I'm not familiar with that kind of persona. I guess I'm not familiar. I wasn't familiar. I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting things to be fairly straightforward, and it kind of wasn't. You know?
Okay. Sure.
So
yeah, I know. All right.
Sorry.
No, it's what? It's fine. You know, the everyone has their view, right?
Fair.
Everyone has their view. But going back to the art and the art style, every area in particular always had its very unique feel or vibe. So you had areas that were like purples, pinks, and then you had areas that were like greens and yellows, and the music always, because I paid attention to it, always kind of flowed with it too at the exact same time. And you could get the feel of the scene as to what was going on too. And I'm glad that they chose colors or schemes that did not conflict. It still made everything really pop and stand out, or it made it a more enjoyable scene, I feel.
I guess I could see where you're coming with that. I don't remember the music that go along with it, but yeah, if it was as good as you say, which I trust, it would make sense that it was.
I was largely focusing on the colors, like the colors made it pop. They didn't
I thought you were talking about music. No, I agree. They had the Milky Way.
Yeah,
and it looked amazing.
Yeah,
and somehow the vampires have the ability to turn the world upside down, so you're falling up, I guess.
Look, you're looking for true logic in this. Too hard.
I guess. I mean, I do that a lot, though.
You do.
Like, I try to make it make sense.
You don't need to. You just, sometimes you have to sit back and enjoy it. And you know, like Nazuna says, you know, sometimes you just got to lay there, relax after a nice day, and then go to sleep, mainly so that way she can have something to eat.
So the way that you would be able to turn someone from a normal person to a vampire is they got to fall in love with you, right?
Yes.
Now, do they actually have to fall in love with you, or do they have to have dopamine levels enough to where it's the illusion of falling in love with you?
I would assume that it has to be enough dopamine levels for it. Because, and that's one of the things that, and that's why I said I would assume that it's that, because they actually toy with that and try to explain like the conditions for it, right? Like at what point do you truly fall in love? At what point does it move from lust to love? Because he thinks he's in love with Nazuna after they kissed, and she bites him and he doesn't turn. And she says, what you felt was like love, but it wasn't love. It was a lust.
I mean, but was it though? Because is he attracted like that?
To them, to the creators, it was like that. Because if it was love in the sense that we're thinking traditionally or whatever it is, he would have turned, but he didn't. He was still a normal human.
Yeah, that still confused me too. Like, it probably confused him as well.
Right. Well, for him, it was
constitute loves. Is he emotionally dead inside, so it's not possible? And then after this year, he's going to die. You know?
Well, that's the thing, right? They when they never specifically say that he will die, they never specifically state that he's going to die for any facet or reason. What they do say is, and they even iterate this at the very end, is that her goal is to make him fall in love with her, not turn him into a vampire, but love. And they specifically state that she has to make him fall in love. They don't specify a time frame either for it. He has to do it within a year to get turned into a vampire, though.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the major points of this anime was because he was not only conflicted or having issues or struggling with that, he was also struggling with, like, what is a friend? Like, at what point does a person become a friend? Do you just like sit down and have a conversation? It's like, hey, we're friends, or just does it just happen and you just know? And I understand that kind of feeling where it's like I've thought some people, and I know you've thought the exact same thing, where it's like, you know, you thought you were friends with someone, or I thought I was friends with someone, and then it's like totally not the case. They've never thought of you that way or me that way or any point in between. It's just an acquaintance, and it hurts when it's like that because it's like, well, damn.
Yeah, it was a one-way street.
Yeah.
And unreciprocated love is a very hard emotion to have to deal with.
Well, it's
and
not
I think
even.
they did it rather well here.
They did, but it's not even just unreciprocated love. It's just like, for him, everything tends to be logical mostly, and he just like, he doesn't understand it. Kind of like how you are, right? You're like, I don't understand. Well, like, why does it have to be that way? Well, why not? Well, it shouldn't have to be that way. I don't understand why it needs to be that way. And that whole conflict that you have, it's like that for him, but it's like that for a lot of different things.
Okay. I mean, I see your point, but it's, I don't ever see the anime concluding this way.
Well, I mean, like the manga's still going on, and we've only saw 13 episodes in a very small portion of it. So, I mean,
True.
I would assume that there's going to be a lot more going on for it.
You think? I was kind of curious. How, in your opinion, we already know our main vampire, right? There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 others who basically kidnapped our main character to try to turn him. And
because
rejected them all.
Right. Yeah, which really confused them, and they didn't understand, because normally they're very, and they kept stating this too, like, they're very attractive, they're very easy on the eyes, they're very beautiful, and, you know, it just, you can't have, you know, normally people, like, they're able to play on people's emotions, or they know how to converse with them. And because of how he is, where Ko is very like, no, I don't, you're not my cup of tea type of thing. He's not very interested in anyone else other than Azuna. Didn't
like 2 girls throw themselves at him essentially?
Basically, yeah, but that's how they get people to start falling in love with them. That's how they're able to persuade them and get them infatuated with them.
I wish I had that ability.
You did have the ability. You did. That's why you got married.
Nice save. No, but if I was immortal, right? And I presumed they are. How often would you need a new plaything?
Depends on how you feel. Everyone's different. And that's one of the key things about this show is each of the vampires that you were introduced, they were they attracted specific individuals based on how they are.
Do you think it was kind of like a wide range, so you could, if one didn't suit your fancy, the other one would come in and swoop up?
No, they would probably just kill and move on.
Did they kill though? Because I could have sworn it was mentioned that the one person didn't kill yet.
Nazuna?
Yeah.
The main character?
Correct.
She never made an offspring, like, ever. The idea of romance, or are you talking about like the high school girl?
High school girl.
I don't think she's killed. I don't think she's killed anyone at all.
So is it possible that she's got a few people who want to be turned but can't because lust and not love?
Well, that's one of the things that they talk. It's one of the things they talked about in this. It's like, I understand you want answers. You're not going to get answers.
I'm trying.
You're not going to get answers.
You usually are able to articulate answers in such a fashion that it satisfies my curiosity.
Okay, look, they specifically stated, and it was told, and Kyo was told that what he had felt was not love, it was lust. And it was kind of like, for them, it was kind of like a Russian roulette, right? You don't know when you're in love. It just happens.
Which makes sense.
Which, I mean, it's 100% true for life in general, right? And that's the whole...
You fall in love when you don't want to, that's for damn sure.
And that's the whole thing, right? It's that they don't know. They themselves don't even know at what point a person falls in love. They're just going to let it go and take its natural course and see how long or what path it takes. And yeah, he wants to fall in love with her, but at what point does he truly fall in love?
We don't know.
Right.
We probably won't know for a while.
Right. And the only one that we know that does make an offspring for sure is a high school girl, because she makes an offspring in the anime.
I don't know. I was trying to go with a certain route. I don't think I could articulate well enough to make it make sense to me, let alone sense to you. I know that she made one offspring in the anime, and she bit him on the arm, which, I mean, I was looking at it. Your neck has a jugular vein, so you'll be able to change rapidly there. The arm is a mix of muscle, tissue, and all that stuff. And
veins and things like that, too.
It just
doesn't matter where you're bit, as long as you're bit. Is there blood there flowing? Yes. The reason why vampires, and it's always depicted that they're bit up in the neck, is because of the free flowing blood. She wasn't biting him to feed or to drain him from up there. She was just biting him to turn him.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So what happens? We've only really ever seen, at least majority, mostly women looking for love became vampires. But I don't get it. Could you
rephrase that for me? I don't think I'm understanding what you're saying.
That the vampires are the only ones looking for love?
You said women are the only ones looking for love?
Yeah, because the vampires are only women. I don't see any of the men. Like there's no, other than the one who starves himself because he was made on an offspring. All the vampires we see are women.
No.
Oh, no. You're right. I made a mistake with that. One of the main characters we noticed there is actually a male.
Yes.
But he's got
feminine.
He dresses in feminine. Yeah, he's got feminine features, and he dresses in a feminine aspect.
Right.
Because, and I quote, it makes him more attractive to.
He enjoys
both sexes. Yeah.
He enjoys it, and there's nothing wrong with that.
But like, what's the purpose of
and to be fair, there is another one.
Oh.
He was just a fresh born baby vampire. When the high school girl turned him.
Oh, does that really count?
Yes.
We didn't see him fang out or nothing like that. We didn't see him drink.
Don't need to. He was. Akun was a vampire. He was turned into a vampire.
Yeah. We don't know what's going to happen.
What do you mean you don't know what's going to happen?
So we know that vampires need to feed, right? We know that they need to feed at least every 10 years, according to this anime.
Right.
If you don't feed for 10 years, you die.
Right.
Okay. If you feed once, you're good for another 10 years.
Supposedly,
right? They can't feed on each other, right?
We don't know.
Well, never mind then. Because I'm like, I was going there and you're like, actually, no. I'm like, well, that kind of shoots my whole theory in the foot then.
Because the thing is, they even stated that not even vampires know a lot about themselves, right? It's because it's like the secrets need to be closely guarded. They're not ones to usually trust each other too much. And so there's even a lot of mystery about them amongst themselves.
I guess.
That's what they said.
I mean, I know that, but like, if you have a group of people together, right? Mm-hmm. And wouldn't you want to know? Wouldn't you want to like experiment a little bit, find out exactly how strong you are, find out exactly how far you can push yourself, find out exactly how damaged you can be before you're fixed again, right?
I mean, are you willing to die in the pursuit of trying to find that answer?
Well, no, but...
Okay, then why would you... It's like, hang on. Wow.
Okay.
You should totally be willing to die, so that way I know. Would you? I'm not going to put myself in the same situation, but it's totally cool for you to die because you're not me. That's what you're saying.
Pretty much.
Yep. Okay. So your unrealistic view is to be like, bruh, I would totally never do this because logically it doesn't make sense to do this, but you should do it because it would make me happy.
It does though. You're not wrong.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna say no.
Yeah. No, there's so many questions that this anime leaves me with. And
Right.
It's got amazing potential. And honestly, yeah, like this is a show because of the music in the beginning and the end, because the opening scenes, because of everything like that. I would recommend it to other people just because it's a good ride. But I like to go a little deeper sometimes and try to find out more stuff, especially when I talk to you, because to be perfectly honest, when I bounce stuff off your head, it makes better sense to me. Okay. Unfortunately, a lot of the time when you say, when you help it make sense, it's mainly because the phrase, because it is, because they want it to be, because it fits, because it Deus Ex Machina somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
Like at the very end, not the very end, but like towards the end, you had a nice protagonist, a nice nemesis, a nice antagonist. Thank you. Again, this is why you're here. You're smart.
I just fake it really well.
You got an antagonist who shows up at, I would argue, a really good, almost perfect time.
Yes.
And kind of flips everything on its head and asks the questions that I would ask.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of the point for that character. Anko is kind of like that. The direction that they're going with her, though, I mean, I can also kind of see and understand. And while she may not be the villain in the truest of senses, at least in terms of humanity's visualization of it, right? She is, from a human non-vampire view, a good guy. However, in the views and how she's portrayed and in the viewpoints of Ko and the vampires, she is a bad guy.
I mean, is she a bad guy if you think about it? Because all she did was help somebody pass, you know? And then what ends up happening is once this person passed away of their own volition, yeah, she kind of killed him in the end because he accidentally consumed blood, but it wasn't a good flavor, which makes no sense to me. It's not like wine or nothing like that, I don't think. And they mention that they don't have an idea as to why blood changes flavor. Once some is good, some is bad, you know? And I'm thinking that maybe she was like, she'll tell her real name later on. And it's something Helsing.
Yeah, it's not though. Her name is Anko.
No, it's not. I mean, I'm thinking it might be an alias of some kind. But you know, Anko did really good job in playing devil's advocate of, oh, you want to be a vampire? Okay, why? And maybe you should do more research on vampires before you go, I want to do it. Like, I wanted to be an astronaut until I found out they had to eat toothpaste. Well, that's not true until my grades started to suffer. But I found reasons not to want to be a not to want to be a vampire, not to want to be an astronaut. You know, eating toothpaste, having macular degeneration in your eyes, the fibromyalgia in your bones. So, I mean, there's plenty of reasons not to be a vampire. One, you're immortal until you don't want to be, but then you got to die because someone will kill you. Okay, that's choosing a really bad ending. Be it now, be it 100 years from now, be it 1,000 years from now. You know?
Yeah,
it's just a bad ending. Unless you want to walk into sunlight, but that does not look peaceful. So yeah. I don't see the allure, you know?
Well, I mean, I know you want answers. I just don't think we're going to get answers or anything like that tonight.
At least not until we hit season 2.
Right.
If there is a season 2, which I hope there is.
Right. So I think this is a good place to leave off for a rating, sir. How about you?
I mean, there's like one or two more things that I think we might be able to flesh this out with. But yeah, a rating right now would probably be substantial. It would be an appropriate thing. And
So
unfortunately, ceremony dictates it's my turn first.
On a scale of 10.
A scale out of 10. I'm going to go with like a 4.356 out of. No, I'm kidding. I'm giving it a 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 8, 8, 8. Yeah, I'm giving it an 8.
Okay.
And the reason why is because if they were turned into a vampire, super strong, but they could fly for some unknown weird reason. Unknown. They're able to fly.
So,
and that's awesome.
Vampires in a lot of other shows and movies fly. So,
but then there's a mechanism that allows them to do so. There's an explanation here that just wonder.
I mean,
maybe they can just jump high and then float. But
so hang on. So you're like,
oh no,
totally,
we're ratings. No, we're
totally wire flying in the other movies. That's totally believable. But this anime where they're flying and I totally
don't
can't
offer an explanation. Yeah,
they don't offer an explanation in 90% of the vampire movies out there where they're flying.
I haven't seen very many vampire movies where they fly.
So you can't base it off of that.
My experiences, unfortunately, don't lend to this.
Indeed.
Like,
I'm also going to go with an 8. I'm going with an 8. The reason why I'm going with an 8 is because when I do want a season 2. It was great. I love the music, but the story was a little lackluster, although I did like that it came to a nice round kind of close at the end. I do feel like they kind of left it a little too open for me. And there's no season 2 on the horizon. So that's why I'm going with an 8.
I can accept that.
All right. So next week's choice is
yes,
a movie recommendation
next
from
week's
Angel.
Choice. Yep, it's Big Fish and
Begonia.
I was close.
So not. All right. So yeah, Big Fish
and Begonia.
Big Fish and Begonia. It's a movie recommendation from Angel. And yeah, that's it. I know nothing else about it. Apparently though, people in our chat disagree that they feel that our ratings are a little low for the movie, which is or series. But that's all right. That's okay. To each their own. To each their own. However wrong they may be. However wrong they may be. All right. That being said, really hope you enjoyed this week's choice. If you feel like we got something right, something wrong, feel free to reach out to us, let us know. All our contact information and everything like that's going to be available for you on our website, featuredanimepodcast.com. You want to catch a pre and post show that we usually do, patreon.com/featuredanimepodcast. $1 a month will get you access to that bonus content. And we are going to be doing our next exclusive will be Darling in the Franxx with Rick this time. So it'll be interesting to hear his reasonings on it. But until next time, I'm Jack.
I'm Rick, and we'll see you next time.